guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a swatch and review of my entire Zoeva collection, and I got so many requests to do this video because a lot of you are unfamiliar with the brand. Here in the States, they're not the easiest brand to get a hold of. You do have to order from their website, which is based over in Germany. If you're in Europe, you can find these products at Sephora as well as order from their website. It probably gets to you a little quicker. To ship from Germany, it is $9. They charge just a flat fee, and then over $100 you get free shipping, but it's kind of a high threshold. So I've been getting a lot of requests from you guys because you want to know what's worth investing in, especially since it's kind of a pain in the neck to have to return something all the way to Europe. So you really want to make sure that, you know, when you're spending the money that you're getting something good. But one thing I will say is that their shipping is amazing. Not just the time it takes to get here, because I really have never had to wait all that long. I want to say every time I've ordered, it's come somewhere in between 1 week and 2 weeks, but a few times that actually came even a little quicker than a week, so it was really impressive. But just the way that they package everything, they package it so super carefully. You'll never have to worry about anything breaking because it's always in like 10 layers of bubble wrap and just, you know, totally secure. So you're not gonna have to worry about, you know, waiting all that time to get something all the way from Germany and then having it come in broken. You can also find these products on beautybay.com, but I wouldn't recommend ordering from there just because in the past when I've ordered from them, it took over a month to get here. So I much prefer just ordering from the Zoeva website and paying the shipping. When it comes right down to it, each palette is $28. When you add the $9 flat fee shipping, it brings the price of the palette from $28 to $37 basically, which is not bad for a high-end palette. And if you're buying more than one item, then it's kind of spread out over the cost of each item, so it's even less than that. I definitely recommend just buying a whole bunch of things at once so that you don't have to pay that shipping fee too frequently. But in this video, I'm definitely gonna let you guys know what my favorites are, and that way hopefully you can make a little bit more of an informed decision. Obviously some of this is gonna be my opinion. I mean, I do have thoughts on the formula, but I would say overall the formula of these palettes is really, really good. I would say there's only one palette I can really think of that didn't have the best formula, but all the other ones are really great. It's just gonna come down to your personal preference and the color selection that's in each one. But of course I'm gonna let you know my thoughts and which ones I would personally choose. So I'm gonna turn the camera around and just focus right on the products themselves, do some swatches, and then I'll come back at the end and kind of summarize and let you guys know again what my favorites are and which ones I would skip. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so here's the drawer where I keep all my Zoeva stuff, and I have the eyeshadow palettes, a couple of face palettes, some like blush palettes, and then there's some highlighters, and then also a little mini travel eyeshadow palette. So let's go ahead and just start with the eyeshadow palettes because I think that's probably what I have the most of. The first one I want to talk about is Blanc Fusion, and this one is a really beautiful, just easy to wear neutral palette. You do have this bright pop of yellow gold right here, but other than that, I mean, this bottom row is really, really cool toned actually. You have a couple of warm tones, but I would say the majority of this palette is actually more on the cool side. In a way, it reminds me a little bit of the Lorac Unzipped Gold. So actually, let me just go and grab that one really quick so that you can see them side by side. Okay, so here's a look at the Lorac Unzipped Gold next to Blanc Fusion. I would say they have a similar vibe, but definitely not exact dupes by any means. These shades up here are a little more in kind of the pinky peachy family, while there's really nothing like that in this palette down here, with the exception of maybe this matte shade kind of looks similar to this one, but this is a shimmer. It doesn't have the bright yellow gold. This gold is completely different from this one here. And then there's these deeper shades, but you really don't have a lot of mid-tones in the Lorac Unzipped Gold. So I would say I really enjoy the Blanc Fusion even more just for that reason. It's just a really easy palette to wear. I'll go ahead and show you some swatches. I think the formula on this one is fantastic as well. It's just really easy to use, and it's one of my favorite palettes from them. And then next up we have Cocoa Blend, and I would say this is arguably their most famous palette. This is the one that I feel like most people have. If they have anything from Zoeva, they bought this one first. It's just been hyped up a lot, and I've watched a lot of Zoeva Collection videos, and almost everybody has this one. To be honest though, I'm not the biggest fan of this palette just because I don't find it to be a really cohesive color story. I find that it's a little difficult for me to decide what shades to pair with what. For example, you have some cool tones over here on this side of the palette, and then over here you have some more warm colors. And this matte right here is really the only shade that I can use as a transition. I could use this one if I sheer it out a lot, but mainly this one. And it goes well with this color and this one, but I can't really use any of these cool tones with this one. It just kind of doesn't go. So I really love this color here, but I don't use it unless I go into another palette, which is kind of annoying to me. So overall, this is not my favorite Zoeva palette, even though the formula is really good. I'll show you some swatches here so that you can see. I mean, it looks really smooth, really buttery. The colors are beautiful. I just don't really get how they go together. So for that reason, I don't reach for this palette very much. Next up, we have the Melody palette. This is their newest one. I did a whole video on this, so I'm not going to go too in-depth with it, but this is, again, another one of my favorites. It's really easy to wear. It has some really beautiful surprise shades in here that are more duochrome. This one here is beautiful. This one is also really, really gorgeous. It looks kind of like a peachy bronze in the pan, but it has this green shift to it that's just gorgeous. This purple is beautiful. So I'll link that video in case you want to check that out. I did a couple of looks with this palette, but it's one of my favorites. I'll go ahead and show you some swatches. The formula on this one is really good as well. I have no issues with any of the shades, so I've been reaching for this one a lot lately. Next up, we have the Opulence palette. This one has really beautiful packaging on the outside. Inside, I'm not really a fan of this one either, unfortunately. It is more of a colorful palette, but that's not really why I don't use it very often. It's mainly because it doesn't have any transition shades in here, and I know you don't have to use a transition shade with every look. A lot of people don't, but I personally do, which is one of the reasons why I just don't reach for this one all that often. It also has a lot of shimmer shades in here. You also only have one really true matte in this palette, which is this red right here. This deep charcoal gray is kind of like a satiny finish. It's not overly shimmery, so it really kind of applies like a matte, but it's not a true matte. Everything else is shimmery. So let me go ahead and show you some swatches so you can see all the colors next to each other. I do think there's some really beautiful colors in here, and the formula is good too. I just don't normally reach for palettes like this where there's mostly shimmer shades. Next up, we have Caramel Melange, and I love this one. If you love warm tones, this is going to be one of your favorite palettes, I think, from this whole line, because it just has all of those perfect warm tones without being too dark. Now, I know I've mentioned before that one of my issues with the Naked Heat palette was that there were so many really deep dark shades, and as a fair skinned person, it kind of just, every look I did with that palette looked too dark on me. But this one has a lot of really nice mid-tone shades, but you also have your deep chocolate brown over here, you have your matte ivory shade like a brow bone highlight, and you also have one that's just a little bit deeper than that as well for blending. So I just love this, and these shimmer shades that are in this palette are stunning. I'll show you some swatches. You can see just how reflective they are. They're just so super buttery. This palette is gorgeous, so if you like warm tones, I highly recommend this one. Next up, we have the Screen Queen palette, and this one, at first glance, when I first saw it, I thought these colors looked beautiful, and they are. This color right here is gorgeous. This green, the blue, I mean, it's a really beautiful palette, but again, very similar to the Opulence one. There's not a lot of mattes in here. There's no mid-tone transition at all. The only matte that's actually in this palette is this one right here. Other than that, everything else is shimmer, so it just makes it a little bit more difficult to work with. I'll go ahead and show you some swatches. It swatches really nicely. I think the formula is good. The shimmer shades are really buttery, but at the same time, I just feel like I can't create a whole bunch of looks using just this palette without dipping into something else. Next up, we have the Spice of Life palette. This is another favorite of mine because, again, if you like those warmer tones, this one is really beautiful without being too overly dark. You also have a couple of different colors in here that aren't normally in warm tone palettes, like this olivey green, which is absolutely stunning. This color right here, unlike any other, is so shimmery and metallic and beautiful on the eyes as well. And then this one here, which is called Balance the Contrast, looks kind of reddish in the pan, but when swatched, it has like an orange duochrome. It's so beautiful. I really love when Zoeva kind of has these little surprise shades in here that swatch differently than they look in the pan. So let me go ahead and show you some swatches. And again, this one does have a really nice mix of transition shades. You have some mid-tones, you have a really deep brown shade in here, and also some really, really stunning shimmer shades for the lid. Next up, we have the Icy Palate. This one is also not really a favorite, although it does have a few stunning shades in here, like this lavender duochrome is absolutely beautiful. This one is an amazing inner corner highlight. It's just so pigmented and vibrant and bright and metallic, but it's, again, a little bit more difficult to use just in the sense that there are not any mid-tone mattes in here. You have a couple really deep satiny shades that aren't completely matte. This is really the only true matte in the palette. The rest are all shimmers, and really it just goes goes from really light to really dark, and there's not a lot in the middle, so I don't reach for this palette that often for that reason. I'll go ahead and put up some swatches so you can see all the colors side by side and really get a sense of what I'm talking about, because even though there's some really beautiful standalone shades in this palette, they don't really form a complete look, at least for me. Next up we have Eclectic Eyes, and I think the thing that I love most about this one is that it's colorful, but it's more muted colors. I know I say that all the time. I feel like I repeat myself in every video, but I'm somebody who doesn't like bright, loud colors, but I'm also getting to the point where I do like to apply color on my eyes. Sometimes I just don't want it to be crazy and bright, and this one is perfect for that. You have these really muted blues over here. This one's kind of like the brightest color, but on the eyes it's stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. You also have a nice matte blending shade here. You have a matte transition that pretty much goes with any of these colors. This one is also a good transition color if you're using this shade on the lid. So let me go ahead and show you some swatches. The formula, like most of them, again, is really impressive. I think that the shimmer shades are super vibrant. The mattes are soft and blendable. So this one is definitely one of my favorites. Next up, we have the Premier palette, and this is another one that I really enjoy a lot. I love some of the cooler tones that are in here. This green is stunning on the eyelids, as well as this kind of burnt gold. This color is more of a duochrome shade that's really beautiful on the lid, and again, you do have your matte ivory shade in here, and a couple of really great transitions, as well as some deeper shades. So I just love the color scheme of this one. You have like both warm and cool shades in here, and I've gotten a lot of different looks out of it. So let's take a look at the swatches. Formula-wise, again, I can't really complain about this one. I think it applies beautifully to the eyes, and it's just overall one that I reach for pretty often. Next up, we have the Cafe palette. Now this one kind of is a little bit of a disappointment to me because visually it's stunning. These colors are absolutely gorgeous in the pan, but for some reason, I don't know what it is, the formula was not the best with this one. It just wasn't up to some of their other palettes, and I'm not 100% sure why, because a few of them were fine, but I found in particular these two right here were a little harder to pick up, and they developed hard pan. And then these two mattes over here also just were kind of a little bit streaky, a little bit patchy. So I'm not quite sure what was going on with the formula of this palette, but I was really disappointed because, as you can see in the swatches, I mean, these colors are just so beautiful. And swatch-wise, I feel like it goes on okay, but I found that it was a little bit more difficult to pick up with a brush and also with my fingers. So for that reason, this one is not one of my favorites. And then the last palette that I have is the Aristo palette, and this one is another favorite of mine because, first of all, I love the way that they set this up. You have your row of mattes here and a row of shimmers, and they all coordinate with each other, so it makes it really easy and foolproof if you want to create a look with it. You just, here's your matte shade right here, and here's your shimmery lid shade, and they all go together perfectly. So that's one reason I love this palette, but you can also mix and match all of these together. It has a lot of really nice mid-tone shades in here, beautiful shimmers, gorgeous formula as well. I would say the one thing that this palette lacks is a really deep shade if you wanted to do something in your outer corner or line your eyes with it. But if you're not really looking to do complicated looks or anything really heavy, this one makes a great palette just to do those quick and easy two-color looks. And then the last eyeshadow palette that I have is one of their mini Voyager palettes. This is the Caramel Melange version. I did have a few others, but I gave them away in giveaways because I do have the full sizes, and these are exact replicas of the full sizes. So I figured I already had the shades in my collection and I didn't need them, but they are really, really great for travel. So I'll show you this one next to the original Caramel Melange. So as I said, this one is an exact replica of the larger one. It's just an edited down version and it's missing some colors, but you do have all of the exact same shades, same shade names and everything. My one complaint about this palette is I felt like these two shimmer shades right here are a little bit too close to one another. I would have probably kept this one in, which is called Liquid Center. It's one of my favorites. And I would have taken this one out and probably put this deeper matte shade in. And I feel like then this Voyager palette would have been perfect. These are just a little bit too close to each other, and I really would have liked that extra variety of having that darker shade in the palette, but it's so super cute and easy to travel with that I would definitely recommend it. It's just that I feel like if it had that deep shade in it, it would have been perfect. And then next up we have the Coral Spectrum Blush Palette, and this one is another favorite of mine. I wear this one a lot just because I can wear pretty much three of these shades. This one's a little bit too deep for me. I can sheer it out, but I kind of feel like this one is just a lighter version of it, so I tend to wear this one and kind of skip this one for the most part. This is the only shade that has shimmer, but it's very subtle. It's not like a crazy sparkly blush, and overall I just love this. So let me go ahead and show you some swatches, and again, the formula is really, really smooth. smooth. They blend beautifully on the cheeks, so I do reach for this palette quite often. Next we have the Screen Queen Highlighter Palette. This one has 3 different highlights, and they're beautiful highlights. I do think the formula is nice, but I just don't reach for highlighters all that often. On an everyday basis, I'm not normally wearing highlighter, but I think as far as highlighters go, the formula is really, really nice. I can wear these 2 pretty easily on my fair skin tone. This one is definitely too dark to use as a highlight, but I could use it on my eyes. Just keep that in mind though, if you are fair-skinned, that really you're only going to be able to use these 2 shades, and unless you're willing to use this one on your eyes, it's going to be kind of a waste. So I'll go ahead and show you some swatches so you can see what the formula looks like. These are super buttery and smooth. They're not a chunky highlight. They're not overly glittery. I just think they're really beautiful and shiny. Next we have the Aristo Blush Palette, and this one is really not a favorite of mine, and you'll definitely see in the swatches what I'm talking about, but these 2 shades right here are really dark for my fair skin tone in general, but then you have this matte ivory color right here, which can't be used as a blush, so I'm not sure if this is supposed to be like a setting powder or an under eye brightening powder, but the thing that I don't get is that this color is really light, so I would probably use it on a skin tone like mine, but I could never use these blushes, and I think someone who has a deep skin tone that would really love these blushes, not quite sure if they would use this powder. So I kind of don't get this palette, and as you can see, it's like almost never been used, so I don't know, it's not something that I reach for very often. So I'll go ahead and cut to some swatches so you can see like how dark these colors are on my skin. They're just way, way too deep for me, which is why I don't reach for it, but I think they would be gorgeous on a deeper skin tone. And then the last blush palette is the Premier palette. This one is really, really pretty. I do like this one, but these 2 are pretty much like highlighters. You could get away with using this as more of a glowy blush, and it's stunning for that on my skin tone. It's just a little more shimmery than what I would normally wear for a blush. This color is stunning. I do have to sheer it out a little bit. It's a little bit on the darker side for my skin tone, and then this highlight is a little bit too deep for me as well. So I think this palette would be beautiful on more of a medium skin tone. It would be absolutely gorgeous. For me, it doesn't really work. I'll go ahead and show you the swatches though, so you can see what the colors look like against my skin tone, and again, the formula is really beautiful on this one too. Last but not least, there are 3 different highlight palettes. These are highlight duos, and they're meant to complement some of their palettes. So you have Cocoa Blend, Caramel Melange, and then Spice of Life. So here's the Cocoa Blend one. This one is probably my favorite of all of them because you have this shimmery color right here, which technically I think it's supposed to be a highlight, but I use it as a blush, and then this highlighter complements my skin tone beautifully, so I really enjoy this one a lot. And then the Caramel Melange one is also really beautiful. This one works really well for a highlight, and then if I wanted more of kind of a bronzy glowy blush, this one is beautiful for that too. And then the last one is Spice of Life, and this one I don't really reach for that often just because this blush is a little too deep for me. This highlight would work really well though, so if I wanted to sheer this out on my cheeks, I probably could, but I do reach for the other 2 more. So I'll go ahead and show you swatches of all 3 of them side by side so you can see exactly what they look like together. And I think the formula is great. I have no complaints with the formula at all. It's just a matter of which colors would suit your taste and your skin tone. And then last but not least, I just want to talk about Zoeva's brushes because I have gotten a lot of questions on those, and I have a few of their brush sets. I think brushes are actually where Zoeva got their start before they got into makeup, but this is the Screen Queen Collection brush set, and this one is, I think, a 12-piece set altogether, so you have a lot of variety in here. I've been using this brush set a ton since I got it, so I do think that their brushes are really, really great quality. This particular set is $90, which is a little bit steep. It works out to about $7.50 a brush though, which isn't too bad for very high quality brushes. Their other sets are a little bit smaller and less expensive. This was the one from I think it was from the Icy collection, and this one has 6 different brushes. And then I also have one from the Spice of Life collection. And this one I haven't actually touched either. This one was a 4-piece collection. It looks like you just have a couple of blending brushes and then a flat edge brush. So I find that the one that works the best for me is this one just because it has so much variety in it. You have so many different blending brushes, a mini fan brush, you have your flat ones, you have one for lining under your eyes, which is really awesome. I use that one all the time. You even have this tiny little angled liner brush here. So this is a really, really nice set. I think it's amazing. However, However, I do also get a ton of use out of my Beauty Junkies brush set, and this one, I have the 5-piece set, but there's an 8-piece on Amazon for, I want to say like $24.95, and these are dupes of Sigma brushes, and they're really, really good. I would say the quality is just as good as these Zoeva ones, and they're a lot cheaper. So unless you really want to try Zoeva's brushes, or you're placing an order and you want to get to that shipping minimum or something, I would say just go on Amazon and grab these. They have these for Prime and they'll ship for free, and the quality is so super good. So like I said, it's not that these aren't good quality, but I do have brush sets that I really love that are a lot less expensive, and these were sent to me, so that's mainly why I'm using them. But I don't think I probably would have necessarily gone out and purchased this, especially since I can get the Beauty Junkies ones on Amazon for so much cheaper. So just something to keep in mind. Alright guys, so just to recap really quickly, the palettes that I wasn't too crazy about are the Cocoa Blend palette. Believe it or not, I know I'm probably going to get killed for this in the comments, but it's not my favorite. Also the Cafe palette just for the formula, the Icy palette just for the color selection because it wasn't my favorite. Also same thing with the Screen Queen and the Opulence palette. I wasn't crazy about the color selection in those either. And also these Trio face palettes aren't really my favorite, at least for my skin tone, because I felt like the blushes in almost all of them were too dark for me, or maybe I could only use one color out of the 3, so these were really not worth buying, at least in my opinion. But things that I really do like are the Coral Spectrum blush palette. This is amazing. I definitely want to pick up the nude one for sure because it looks beautiful. Also, I really do like these little duos, except for the Spice of Life one. I don't use this one that often on my skin tone, but the Cocoa Blend and the Caramel Melange are beautiful. I'm actually wearing the Cocoa Blend blush on my cheeks today, and I really love the color a lot. Also, the little mini Voyager palettes are really great if you want like this teeny tiny little travel palette. This is so cute, and they do have other ones as well. But also the larger palettes are really slim and travel friendly, and they come with more shades, so that's just something to consider. So my favorite of the larger palettes are definitely Caramel Melange. Love all the warm tones in here. The Premier palette, which I think this is the one I'm wearing on my eyes today. Yes, on my eyes I am wearing this shade in the crease right here, and then this one on my lid. It's a really beautiful duochrome. It's a gray with kind of like a purpley mauve in it. It's so pretty. So this one is another favorite. Also, Eclectic Eyes is a really nice one. Spice of Life for sure. And of course the Melody palette. This is the newest one. I love that one. Blanc Fusion is a great neutral palette if you love neutrals. And then the Aristo palette is another favorite of mine as well. So that about sums it up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful and were able to kind of choose which Zoeva palettes you would like the most. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button down below. Also, let me know in the comments what your favorite Zoeva palettes were in this video. And also let me know if you like this video and you want to see more like this, where I just go through my entire collection of something. Let me know what brands you would like to see, because if I get a lot of requests for one particular brand, then that's the one that I'll do next. So don't forget to let me know that down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!